Presbyterian Church government and by the acts passed in the Parliament of both kingdoms for union of the two kingdoms, together with the government, worship, discipline, rights and privileges of the Church of Scotland. So help me God.
I now invite Your Majesty to subscribe both copies of the instrument, confirming the oath has been taken.
And there is a king signing, gentlemen, the proclamation that makes him king now, as we listen to the royal band behind us, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, the band's heading up towards St James's, which is very close to us, I believe, for the formal proclamation to the public that will be made by the Garter King of Arms, accompanied by the Earl Marshal. That's a very deep ceremonial moment. We can talk about pomp and pageantry. That's
well, on cue.
Yeah,
to have the royal band behind us.
So he's signing the proclamations. This is his last formality, really, as monarch, because now he has the approval, effectively, of the church. And
to His Majesty's oath to sign both copies of the instrument.
It is interesting to see William signing this, and of course, we remember before William and them as a kid, and now here he is, the new Prince of Wales, stepping into his role and signing the proclamation for his father to become king, and also which in part makes him the new Prince of Wales. And there is the Queen Consort Camilla also signing the proclamation.
As a Privy Councillor, as much as a member of the royal family, this is the crossover between government, effectively, and the monarchy, with all the former prime ministers and the leader of the opposition looking on and effectively giving their approval to this moment. And everyone in that room is actually invited to sign the proclamation. I don't know quite how they squeeze it all in.
I want to bring in now Elizabeth Norton. She is a medieval and royal historian and the author of England's Queens, the biography. Talk to us about, this is history in the making, and how this will be viewed in the years to come, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. It is absolutely history. And of course, it's been 70 years since this has happened before. It's a defining moment. You know, it is the moment where, although the King, Charles, has been king since the moment of his mother's death, this is really effectively the sort of the rubber stamping. This is where he is proclaimed as king. So it's a really significant moment. And, you know, we can look back on previous accession councils. There's a famous painting of Queen Victoria in a white dress sitting amongst her privy councillors, which sort of records this moment, you know, well over, you know, nearly 200 years ago. So it is a really important moment for the king.
Do we know, gentlemen, how many people will sign this?
Well, there's not you know, as you say, there's hundreds of people in the Privy Council. There's not hundreds of people in that room, but they all get an opportunity, I think, to sign it. You've got behind there the two households coming together, the Prime Minister's household on the right, represented by her permanent secretary to the Cabinet, and you've also got the private secretary to the King.
When you're made a Privy Councillor, if you're a Member of Parliament, members of Parliament are normally described as the Honourable Member for Barnet South or wherever. When you become a Privy Councillor, you become the Right Honourable. So there's a lot of Right Honourables in that, well, they're all Right Honourables in a sense in that room, along with the leaders of the Church. And interestingly, also in the room will be the High Commissioners from the realms. These are the 14 countries that make where the King is head of state. They will sign the proclamation as well, because they have to recognise from those countries, from the Governor-Generals, the authority.
Which would be interesting when it comes to Australia and Jamaica, which are two countries clearly where the Republican movements are so powerful right now. It'll be interesting, you know, they are giving their authority to the new king as well. But I think, let's see what the public makes of that. That's a big challenge for the king going forward, whether he can retain the same sort of authority in those nations that the Queen had.
And the question is, Richard, why so much formality here? And you said it would certainly be challenged if it didn't go through all of these formalities.
You have to look at every single country. Let's just talk about the United States and the change of power that takes place from one administration to another.
So look at these pictures. Just look at him. I mean,
He's so aware of how profound this moment is. He's been
Sorry, Richard, go on.
Yeah, no, oh, hang on. Here's Penny Mordaunt again.
Authorising Your Majesty's declaration to be made public.
Approved.
Draft of an order in Council for recording the oath relating to the security of the Church of Scotland, to be transmitted to the Court of Session, to be recorded in the books of Sediment, and afterwards lodged in the State Papers of Scotland and in the Council Register.
Approved.
Draft order in Council determining the form of proclamation for proclaiming Your Majesty in the realms and in the British Overseas Territories.